Hello, everyone, and welcome. Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street. Hope you're doing well this weekend. Guys, we're going to try and plow through so many videos today and over this weekend. Finally, have some time so we can definitely get through a load of our projects, both new and old. But this one in particular today is going to be focusing on Quant QNT on the exchange. So this is one very excited about, one that I was late to the party. But we'll go into the chart in a bit anyway, just reflecting on the price points that we purchased in, where we sold in, and now where we are right now. But let's talk quickly about a few things update wise from Quant. Nothing major really, but I wanted to bring a couple of things to the attention. One being the update here to data quality across the APIs. This is where they're integrating Quant into multiple systems. One article I don't have up on here right now, which I might be able to in a second. Or actually, let's pull this up. I really found this interesting. Actually, I remember doing maybe earlier this year. I like to try and encourage people to see not necessarily things differently, but actually like encourage a bit more, confidence in themselves and this, that, and the other. And I had a couple of guys who were like developers, had one reason or another um, in life not going so well. So I thought, well, okay, guys, like, how about have you heard of blockchain? This kind of thing. And actually, when I showed them some of like the coding through like GitHub and the requirements of some projects, like bpro for example, where you get essentially tested for Web 3.0 projects and things like that. Once I showed them the coding and JavaScript and the C plus etc., they started going, "Oh yeah, this is all stuff we used to do in the 80s." I was like, "Really? Oh, okay." Because if you look in history, yes, it's argued that Nakamoto is the one that found the sort of mathematical equation, if you like, for everything to work in the whole crypto or cryptography area, right? But actually, blockchain technology's background and history in terms of coding, its ability, albeit not found at that time, was actually in the late 80s. Can you believe it? So it's really interesting papers and information around that period of time that you can go and read. But from a developer's perspective, if you find people around that era who were sort of developing their careers at that time, they would probably tell you the same. If you gave them a bunch of coding that was used in blockchain, yeah, I'm sure there's a couple of bits that are new, like smart contracts and this, that, and the other. But generally speaking, they'd probably be able to figure out this quite quickly. That being said, I was reading this and I was quite staggered by this like statistics and information, because this is really imperative for like taking blockchain technology to another level. And if you think how many people coming together will enhance this even further, and maybe just maybe find even the next level. We're already looking at things like the Tangle mechanism for IOTA, for example, this whole DAG system, direct cyclic graph technology of blockchain's next evolution, basically. But this was interesting. Less than 1% of 27 million developers understand the complexities of blockchain technology. Now, this is not for me to say, oh, that's a staggering statistic, that's a disgrace, because I'm absolute Scooby-Doo about coding. I know very basic HTML for website building and this, that, and the other. But if it came to JavaScript and C hash and C plus and all of this stuff, I'd be like, can someone just get me one of them dummy books, like the yellow ones, and I'll start learning it, because I have no idea. So this is very interesting. Professor of Computer Science here, Dr. if this is correct, hopefully, Carmen Venture, saying emerging technologies such as blockchain and distributed ledgers are becoming increasingly important for the financial services, not just financial services, but pretty much technology in general. But yeah, such market efficiencies, payment traceability, and digital asset management. This course provides a solid technical. So the course is basically relating to something that Quant has launched quite recently. Beginner's Guide to Becoming a Blockchain Developer with Overledger. Now, I think that's really cool. Quant is obviously a big leader in this space, especially when it comes to CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, a load of other stuff. Like we said, with the improvements of the API mechanism on their upgrade recently, this whole API gateway is really important to interlace itself within existing systems. As we covered a few videos back, if you remember, we're talking about loads of things like the Helvetia project, which we talked about Zynfin and Corda as well, of course. But Quant has a really stable system that is definitely heavily involved. We talked about a video, I don't know, 6 months or so ago about the involvement with the Digital Pound Foundation. So, these things are happening whether we like it or not. And what I thought I would pull out as well, to actually just wrap that up. So, developers, I think, really, really important that we get more and more open minds, not just new minds, but also existing minds, to really take things faster. And that kind of links in with this article. It's really interesting. I'm not going to read it out fully, but do take a read of this. It's on Twitter and everything. James R. Williams, I believe, is the editor or the writer, speaking with the Quant CEO Gilbert Verdian. It's a really interesting read, actually, but a couple of points I wanted to pick out was very much when he was involved in pretty much Downing Street, so our government, if you like, in the UK here, a few years back, and then he came up with some ideas which then turned into an ISO, or certainly helped towards a new standard for blockchain back in 2015. But he made some really interesting points here about decentralization, and more importantly, bringing people together with an idea to enhance the world, right? And he was saying, like, oh, do you know what this? And I agree. I think our country is so archaic. It's so slow. Technologically, it's slow. Development is slow. It doesn't look like it maybe from the outside, but it takes like 6 weeks for a pothole to be filled up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Or a bridge to be made, like in Amsterdam, you could probably have a bridge done in like 2 weeks, and here it probably takes like 2 years. It's just crazy how slow things are, and that's maybe possibly to do with the finance structure of payments and contracts and this, that, and the other. So he was like, why are we not all working together more? Like, why are we not coming together, and not just in the UK, but collectively as a world unit? I really liked this. So coming out with like international effort, 57 countries, bringing the ISO standard to all of those, and bringing everyone together with the ideas and knowledge. Interoperability, of course, big factor of blockchain. Talks here about Web 3.0 building traction and building emphasis, and why that's important. But what was really cool here as well is not just bringing power. So basically he was part of the health department as well. And he was talking about how actually people can now have the power back to be able to control their own data rather than just being sold on their behalf without them knowing or without their permission. But he made a really cool point here about like farmers, and actually like these farmers could be paid almost instantly. Once the product has left their vicinity, they could be paid instantly rather than waiting 6 weeks. And that philosophy is really interesting to me, because the speed of blockchain, the speed of projects like Quant, like Zinfin, whatever, these new blockchain technologies and DLT systems, this is where I think the economy could absolutely explode. Like, if we think how fast, or let's think how things slow down because payments aren't made, or like a business can't go and find another project because it hasn't been paid for the last one yet, and this, that, and the other. The speed of which this can affect payment, within, like they say in this article, like being a farmer being paid within like a few hours, not 6 weeks. And that's just one aspect of it. Think of this like on the project scale of like buildings or manufacturing, and how faster we can penetrate efficiency and speed of which things are made and produced. I'm really excited about that, and for sure that kind of also takes away so much admin strain, so much delays and things like that. So I'm really excited to see how that further develops as time goes by. But let's see how that kind of progresses. But yeah, it was a really interesting read, so I do recommend going to read that. But for sure, Quant is right up there with one of the really big technical projects that are going to do some big things when it comes to CBDCs and the restructuring of the existing financial system across the world. So guys, hopefully that was a bit of interesting info there. Like I said, do your own research, and do definitely go and check out these really interesting articles. I love Quant. I think Quant's just another level of communication, the way it writes things, the way it talks, the interviews that are conducted. It's so different. Like, I don't feel like there's a load of maxis with Quant. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love XRP, I love Stellar, but I just feel like there's so many people from like years ago. I feel like Quant is just one of those just one of those like sensible projects. Like it's a logical project. It doesn't have people going, crying about it or anything like that. It's just purely satisfactory in the sense that it's doing a job in the background. It's going about its business quietly. And look at the price as well. Let's jump into the chart, actually focus a bit about that. So we covered this project a few times now. Like I said, we were late to the party. We're totally accepting to admit that, and we love that fact, because actually we didn't buy quant in these areas at these high levels. Obviously back at these levels when we hit the high points. Let's just check those out a second. Imagine, honestly, going up to like over $400, buying in here, even from July last year at 65. That's brilliant. That's almost like when you bought Ethereum at like in 2020, and then it shot up to like 2,000 within that year, I think. It's almost similar to that kind of thing. But yeah, of course, quant is not as old, I don't think, as Ethereum anyway, so that's kind of understandable. But what we tracked in the last video, or a few videos back, was this element of where do we want to purchase. We did DCA, okay? So we were on this track down over the last few months, and we said, you know what, we're going to be happy with the first purchase of 150. We did that. Obviously, it came down lower. We knew it was going to come down lower. So we actually drew in a few different areas of interest to purchase, right? So we had this higher region here, just under the 150 mark, and we had the lower region down here. It looked quite scaled down, but because of the mass money and volume in quant, it was quite easy for us to be able to come down here. And it actually did it quicker than we thought, we'll admit that. But it did indeed come to these areas of around 104, which is where we had our buy orders. And then we put in our buy order lower as well, because we thought, okay, hang on a minute. This is showing a really bearish mode, not just in quant, but across the market, right? So we put in these lower regions. I was being very ambitious for it to come down to that $60, $50 area for sure. But it did indeed come and penetrate this level under $100. And we did indeed get that $89 mark in a purchase. Absolutely brilliant. We've taken it back up since then to around 153. Now, we're not going to be saying here, oh, we told you this, we told you that. That's not what this channel's about. It's about like just showing you what we're doing just from experience over the last few years, and enjoying the ride basically. So we were buying down here, and I did indeed sell up here, only because pretty much we have already doubled our position. So I took out my initial investment. I didn't buy like loads of quant. I don't have like massive capital. I've got loads of portfolio already. Quant was an addition, so it's like a bit more of a how many can I actually do? So I've got a few of them down here, and I admittedly sold initial investment up here, and then I waited for the way back down for a DCA. So I managed to once we hit this sort of 160 area. I don't think I did the sell right at the top. It was around about 150-ish, I think, 147, just underneath that. I didn't expect it, to be fair, to go to 160, but we did indeed draw that top line, and look how amazing that is. It literally touched it. So we must be doing something right with our data analysis here. So we've come back down. Very interestingly, through this touch point here that we saw back in July, but we're in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, in the sense that I personally feel that we're probably potentially coming back down to these 104 levels. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to come and test that $100 mark again. Will it come down lower to these regions again? Of course it's possible, but I would love to see a new higher low, and that would really start confirming some positivity in the market, as well as quant, of course. So I'm leaving that buy order there, and to be fair, today we've started the open a few hours back with a red candle thus far. And that might just pull us back down to those areas. So let's see how that plays out. But I've already done one DCA purchase back in at the 124 area, I think. So it's probably like 25% down, right? So grabbing that, and then like I said, I've got one back down here. That's my anticipation that I think we could come back down to this area. The momentum is showing that clearly. The performance indicators on the right hand side, 15% down on the week. 50% down on 3 months is understandable. Like every market pretty much is around that sort of 38 to 48 mark kind of thing, and down on the month as well. So we're not in a great position. We're still in a sell off on the technicals down here, strong sell apparently. So let's see how that plays out. So we could have played this extremely well if this comes into fruition, but let's keep an eye on that over the next few days. But yeah, very much so. I was expecting us to at least get to around this level again. It'd be crazy if we came back down to this level. The only thing I would say, if it did come down to that level, is something around the narratives of the world in general. I mentioned this in a few videos back. This week, we've got to focus on things that are going on around the world. Obviously, this Russia thing, crazy nonsense, right? Why can't just everyone get on? This is 2022. Honestly, we could be doing so many awesome things together as a world if we would just work together rather than just messing about, wasting time, lives, and money. Anyway, that's another topic, right? So we've got to look at things like that for sure. We've got the US hikes potentially in interest rates in March. So I think there's a lack of confidence still right now. I think you're going to get like the hard players and investors and those that have been around long enough to be confident to not worry about this, like myself and Steve and others that in our crypto group and stuff like that. But you've got to analyze the narratives as well. It's all great looking at data and charts, but you do have to understand what is going on in the background, because that does affect stock markets, and it does now eventually trickle into crypto as well. So that is why I'm anticipating that as we get towards the end of February and that those deadlines in March come for all these crazy things around the world, that's where you think, just in case I will have these lower buy orders, and even lower. I've still got these buy orders here on Qcoin just in case. I think that'd be quite interesting if they come down to that level. Could we see repeats of like March 2020? Could we see a complete absolute carnage dump? Of course, that it does reflect on Bitcoin's price points. I won't go into massive detail of Bitcoin because this is a quant video, but it's still important to understand. I mean, we're literally on that $40,000 mark of Bitcoin again. When people were just literally a week ago like, oh, we're going to the moon, we're going to start rising again. I was like, no, we're not. We've just had a massive overpurchase of crazy FOMOing going in as well. That's for sure going to come down. Of course, the low levels of Bitcoin, again, back to 36. And when you get to these levels, you could easily, if it doesn't stabilize, can penetrate back again to 32. If you lose that, you're back down to 30. And then if it gets to 30 and we drop, then bye-bye, I guess. But yeah, I'd like I said, with Quant in particular and all of these project assets, I hope that we do a bit of a bounce off and then that confirms another high low, right? So that brings a lot of confidence back into crypto and hopefully markets in general. They might cancel this hike. It might just all be part of the narrative. That's what I'm saying. Keep an eye on it all. Follow the money. Do what they do, not what they say. Exactly those formats. It's worked every single time I've done charts. I don't fear the news. I haven't watched the news in years, but I do keep an ear out for all these things. And you're like, oh, okay, that's probably going to affect the market in this way and this way. It's as easy as that sometimes. Final observations, guys. RSIs, very important for me when I'm purchasing to understand where we are in the longevity of markets, not just in candles and graphs, but here RSI right now, not as low, of course, when it was back here. This is such a beautiful purchase opportunity, great selling opportunity, of course, and you can use these histograms indeed and the MACDs to understand maybe a bit more. If you're looking at candles and going, oh, I'm not sure what to do, you can at least see the over purchasing and the under purchasing patterns. This is why these technicals are really important to understand and look at more often than not. We had to switch over the MACD back here on the 1st of February. Nice, beautiful bull move. We've had the narrowing very quickly, but I did mention that this is a sharp, steep incline upward trend. It's like this on a lot of projects. Do be wary of that, because at some point that's probably going to reflect the other way as well. Now we're starting to see the switch over and a bear mode. So that's why I think we're probably going to get that 104 at least. Let's see how that plays out. The RSIs are very much a nice buying area still on the way down. I wouldn't say like, oh, wow, it's at 40, 41 now on these short to medium terms, the 14s and the 28 day. But for me, that's giving an indicator ready to start going, okay, yeah, like I said, I've already purchased some around that sort of 125 mark. And 104 will be my next one. And I will keep some back just in case we do drop back down to those lower levels to test again. So this is an area where I'm going to start putting in the DCA move with an anticipation that the risk of it coming down lower is less than it. There's more upside than there is downside, but still being cautious just because of the way the market's trending. So that is what I'm doing with Quant. This is where we are on the RSIs. So very much a nice starting buying position. For those that maybe missed the last couple of times to get Quant, should start maybe waking up. Not financial advice, obviously, but from my opinion, waking up to the fact that there'll be possible opportunities to jump into Quant. and maybe tail up hopefully as the months go by. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. We're going to wrap that up there. We've got loads of videos to come. Sorry if this one dragged on a bit, but yeah, I just wanted to emphasize the points that Quant is dealing with, and the excitement, and the technical aspects of what's possible and what they're doing. And of course, reflecting on the chart is really important as well, to show you what we're doing and what has been working. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll indeed catch up with Quant next week at some point, I'm sure. I'm really interested to see if we hit our lower buy opportunities, and we will for sure let you know if that happens. But until then, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next Quant video. Bye bye.